Hey guys! Before I get into anything today, I just want to sincerely ask you to watch this video in its entirety and pay attention to everything I have to say. Like all my argument videos, it's quite vital to listen to every part, as everything in it is key to understanding my point of view. It might be unfair to ask you to watch all of this, especially if you have never seen my channel before, so if you don't think you can watch all of this video, I recommend simply clicking away instead of hearing half of my arguments, as that's not very beneficial to anyone. I have tried to make this video nice and to the point so it's digestible for all, so please do your best to watch the entirety of it, and if you don't think you can do that, then I'd rather you not engage with it at all. Thank you. And quickly, while I do have your attention before I jump into the actual content of the video, I would also like to include my shoutout section here. Like all my videos, I will be shouting out a top player who deserves more attention. Today's choice is a small YouTuber by the name of CaveMelv. Currently, CaveMelv has only 140 subscribers on his channel, which I find very unfortunate considering his skill. His most recent achievement was the Hell Dignity, which he beat on 60Hz, and he's also beaten Cold Sweat, Fusion Z, Athanatos, Auditory Breaker, Monster Cat, Black Blizzard, and so many other extremes that total over 30. As well as beating the levels just listed, he has some crazy runs on some top demons, such as 28 to 100 on Crimson Planet, 96% on Sonic Wave, and 36 to 100 on Aquatic Auroras. If this all hasn't convinced you enough of his skill for a player with 140 subscribers, he has also beaten some top 50 challenges, such as Click Trap and Panuto Challenge. This guy is absolutely crazy for how underrated he is, and I really want to get him some more attention as a player. But I can only do that with all of you. So please, take the few seconds that it takes to go down in the description of the video and sub to CaveMelv. He would for sure appreciate the support he very well deserves, and I would love it for you to all go give him some love. I won't beat it into you, but please make the right choice and give him a sub and some positive attention. Anyway, that's enough for my pre-video ramble. I'll move on now and get into the meat of today's discussion. I hope you enjoy. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today, we have yet another essay-directed discussion that I've had on my mind to publish for a while. My last video, the one on the history of the demons list, was over an hour long. In contrast, this is hopefully going to be a short, sweet, and to the point argument. I did just do another one of these in the form of my Cybernetic Ascend video essay, and I think people seem to enjoy the sprinkle in of more current event community discussion style videos, so that is why I've decided to upload this. The topic in this video is also one that I've wanted to talk about for a very, very long time, and you can perceive it as the culmination of months upon months of realizations throughout my past year or two being a member of the creating community. But, what am I even going to be talking about in today's video? If you read the title, you obviously will know that it's about stylistic prejudice in the community, though that term might not immediately make total sense to you. By the end of this video, you'll hopefully have a very thorough understanding of what it is, and why I believe it's something we need to start talking about more and being more mindful of in the community. If any of you have been longer time followers on my channel, you'll know I made a video addressing problems in the creating community quite some months ago, and it may seem like this video is going to be in a similar vein to that. In fact, I would say this video is a more genuine and well-argued version of that video, and the assertions here are ones that I believe in with a much bigger passion, as I disagree with a lot of things my older self said in that other creating community video. Like I mentioned earlier, this topic and my beliefs that will be expressed today are ones that I have founded after months of experience in pondering over this topic, and after making mistakes in the form of the ideas I founded in videos like my Problems with the Creating Community one, I have finally come to a conclusion where I can see my beliefs clearly. Anyway, even though you now understand how deep-rooted this video is and where it's coming from, you still likely do not understand what stylistic prejudice is, unless it made sense from the get-go. Stylistic prejudice is a term that I've coined that refers to any subconscious or direct predetermined feelings towards a certain style of creating in Geometry Dash, whether that prejudice is geared toward decoration or gameplay. There are countless styles of creating in both of these categories, and as our creating community has evolved to where it is in 2.1, it is my observation that certain styles have come to be looked down upon or glorified over others based on many reasons, again both subconscious and direct. Stylistic prejudice works in both ways. Some styles are hated by certain members of the community, while others are put on high pedestals above all others. This might seem confusing at first with no examples, but just bear with me, because all the explaining, analyzing, and evidence of why I've come to believe this will come later in the video. With the realization of stylistic prejudice and how it has affected our community, I have built a central belief surrounding it that is the reason I sat down and decided to write this. This assertion is that the creating style of something is built in should not determine its worth below or above other styles. Whether it's gameplay or decoration, I believe that no style should be put on a pedestal above another, and in other words, a creation should not be detested or glorified solely because of its style. These are all pretty bold claims, and upon me immediately directing them toward you, you may instantly latch onto some counter-arguments, or it may seem like I am exaggerating. But please give me the floor for the rest of this video before you jump to any conclusions, as I'm quite confident I will argue this topic out in full, and hopefully convince you, or at least show you why I believe in what I do. And at the end of this video, if you still have issues or confusion regarding what I am saying, feel completely free to comment about anything you want to address. But with the stage set, let's get into the first part of this video that will back up my bold claims here today. Make sure to sit tight and pay close attention for a complete understanding, and I hope you enjoy. Now, I know I said just a second ago I'd be jumping right into the first bit of the video, but we need to do a little bit more term defining before we can do that. As I'm going to be using the locution creating style a lot in this video, I would like to actually establish in stone what it means when I say that. Like I said in the intro, I'm going to be approaching this video from two creating standpoints, decoration and gameplay. When you first think about a creating style, it seems to be such an obvious, everyday term, but it's very hard to pin down in reality. This is because those styles can be generalized into categories like modern, core, design, etc. Styles are often individualized. In other words, creators have often very distinct styles under the umbrellas of these larger categories, such as Rafer, Felix Ram, Niejifu, and Samifying. You can call Niejifu a modern creator and Felix Ram a design creator, but they still have very distinguishable ways that they create that are much more refined versions of the broader styles they build in, and it's hard to pin down a good definition for them other than just Niejifu style or Felix Ram style. With this considered, I would like to clarify that in this video, when referring to creating styles, I will be nodding toward them in a broader sense. I will not be getting into any sort of creator-specific styles, as that doesn't work very well with the purposes of this video, but instead I will use more general terms. Some common examples of these from a decoration standpoint are styles like design, art, effect, core, glow, and modern. These also contain subcategories like realistic art, cartoon art, and mechanical art for the art style, but subcategories again won't be as relevant in this video, despite being more sensible than just creator-specific styles. Overall, I would likely be referring to creating styles by their broader terms, like design and effect, and I would appreciate you understanding that I do know that creating styles are not able to be defined that simply, and it's only for the purposes of making my argument actually make sense. Gameplay styles are going to work in a similar fashion, though there are broader styles like flow, experimental, sync-based, speedcore, memory, and effect layouts. Much of the gameplay we see out there today can be defined as creator-specific. Gameplay builders more often than not have very distinct styles and mechanics, and I will again not be digging that deep, instead referring to styles in the general sense. Now that you all hopefully understand the definition of a creating style for the purposes of this video, we can officially move on to the actual arguments I'm going to be making. So let's really jump into it this time. Alright, in the first half of my argument for today, I will be talking about stylistic prejudice in the community as it relates to decoration. Sticking to my initial assertion, the belief I will be arguing here is that the decoration community has come to put certain styles of decoration above others, and have, whether directly or subconsciously, placed certain styles that they deem unoriginal below the styles that they adore. First off, I want to approach this claim from the standpoint of some relevant levels. When talking to numerous individuals in the community, I have deducted that the levels that tend to be appreciated the most over anything else are demons like Cold Sweat, Feral, SFW, Still Life, Spawhippy, TKSBL, Strange Boxes, and other demons are levels in that vein of experimental effect style works. Now, please don't get me wrong at all. I am a fan of all these levels, but I'm sure I am not the only one who has begun to realize that the community as a whole has started to place levels like this up on a pedestal above other works and styles in the game. When we appreciate levels like Cold Sweat, we respect them for their creativity. They are incredibly unique works of art that express very cool visuals and boast amazing colors and atmospheres. But why are these attributes of creative mastery limited to levels in this area of creating? For example, let's talk about design mega collabs. If you're a seasoned member of the creating community and you hear the term design mega collab, there's a good chance you immediately get a bad taste in your mouth from the reputation these styles of levels have earned as uninspired, uncreative, and not unique in the slightest. In contrast, any sort of experimental or effect style work like Still Life or TKSBL is celebrated no matter what their quality is in contrast. Sticking to my belief that levels can be creative no matter the style they are built in, I want to cite design mega collabs like To The Core, Disentombed, Napalm, Maelstrom, Emerald Realm, Distraught, and so many more amazingly unique and creative design mega collabs in many aspects, from colors, to atmosphere, to theming, to design. But despite this, When one thinks of a good, unique level, these styles as a whole are either directly or subconsciously sidelined to levels like Feral, SFW, Cold Sweat, or any other levels in that category of experimental or effect style. Now, please hear me. I'm definitely not saying that all design mega collabs should be celebrated. They are far from all competent, and a lot of them truly are uninspired and bland. But why does the design style as a whole have to take a hit from that? I saw a completion video the other day of a design level. The level was Precipitance by Extravagon, to be exact. Now, this level is definitely not anything impressive to me personally. The designs themselves are repetitive, the colors are tasteless, and it seems quite stale overall. But in the description of said completion, the player asserted that they are sick of the design style levels. They did not criticize Precipitance on its own for being bland. They criticized this design style as a whole for being uninspired. This is something that stuck with me, and I think it demonstrates really well how even subconsciously, we are placing certain creating styles below others in the creating community, and instead of criticizing levels individually, we are criticizing styles as a whole. I have never once seen any sort of experimental style level be criticized like this, despite me seeing a handful of works out there that have been far from impressive in the style of level. They seem to all be celebrated by the community, and I think it's very unfair. I think the fact that design style levels as a whole are being pushed under like this is not acceptable, and even though there is some truth in the notion that there are more bland design style levels than experimental style levels, it's not alright to harp on the design style in its entirety because of that. Design levels can be very well made. This is why I think we need to start treating every style equally. Again, am I saying that all design style levels have to be liked? Definitely not. Like I said in the Precipitance example, I personally do not think it's a very good level. But the fact that the player who commented on its quality asserted its worthlessness based on its style, and not its actual quality as a level attempting that style, is something that I think many other people either consciously or subconsciously follow suit in doing, whether in their heads or out loud. Now, I do want to quickly make sure I clarify that I do not condone creativity in levels at all. With me arguing that works in the experimental effects category being held too high in regards to other styles, it may seem like I am harping on their worth. This is not the case at all. I absolutely marvel at the creativity in some of these demonstrations of art. I just believe it's unacceptable that this style of levels has begun to be considered more well-built to express creativity or unique aspects than other styles, or that creativity has run dry in styles like design, when that is far from the truth. Creativity can be everywhere, in every style, and we need to start recognizing that instead of just supporting one style for its creativity and others for other attributes they might have. It's nonsensical and closed-minded to place one style over another, and this is why I believe it's not okay that the community has begun to adopt this mindset, and deem some approaches of creating more unique than others. But I don't want to act like I am a perfect human in the community that has always been telling others that they are flawed in their ways of thinking. Don't worry at all about that. I've been subject to plenty of stylistic prejudice myself in my time in this community, and I want to talk about that here to maybe make this all a bit more relatable and make your experience with it stand out a bit more in your head. Looking at my past in this community and what opinions I endowed, a lot of my beliefs toward levels in the past were, regrettably, based on the style they were built in. When my opinions about the creating community were beginning to bud, the trend of more experimentally styled levels that I was just talking about earlier rising up was something that bugged me significantly. Principal examples of this are again Cold Sweat, Strange Boxes, Feral, and many others. My original stance was that these levels are praised too much and have no meaning, and are automatically worse than any other levels that attempted to be fake like this. I disregarded any sort of level as soon as I saw it was a part of this trend, and that is quite clearly reflected in my video entitled Issues with the Creating Community, which is a video I strongly disagree with as my beliefs and perspective has changed over the months of thinking about this topic. I know this is the decoration-oriented section, but I want to quickly shift to gameplay for a second, as one of my points relating to that fits very well with what I just said. Specifically, let's take a look at effect layouts and how they were perceived by me when they were popular and making their way around the community. While I don't very much like effect style layouts even today, as they have never stood out to me as very special, I completely disregarded that vein of creating in any level within it entirely, which led me to hating certain outliers like Aleph Null that were actually made with a lot of care and quality. While I wanted to like Aleph Null when it first came out, I remember that I pushed it away simply because it was an effect layout, and therefore went against my beliefs of what makes a good level, and this is a prime example of stylistic prejudice and how it can affect people in the creating community. It alters our perception of levels, even forcefully, and like I said, this argument I am making here is not about liking every level you see. I still don't like the majority of effect layouts, and it's not about that. Instead, it's about having an open mind and letting in works of other styles while keeping your beliefs about what makes a good level intact. I hope this more personal example helps you understand my points a bit better, and I highly recommend taking a look at yourself and your past in this community and trying to see if you have ever been subjected to stylistic prejudice. It's not a bad thing if you have been affected by it, as I fully admit to having demonstrated behavior like this in the past myself, but I hope through this video you can catch yourself if you are ever basing your beliefs off something like style of creating. I do want to keep the ball rolling and move right into the gameplay section in this video now that I've wrapped up my decoration directed arguments. I still have quite a bit to say, and I want to make sure I can actually keep you guys' attention spans, so I won't miss a beat and we'll continue right into the next part of the video. The second part of my argument is, as I said, geared toward gameplay. Very similar to the first half of my argument, in this section of the video I will be reflecting a similar notion that I did prior, which is that some styles of gameplay are being put above others, with the losing styles here being pushed under by some members of the community. This is due to multiple reasons, such as the stigma that some styles of gameplay are more creative, when in reality creativity can be found in all styles, some conscious distaste towards certain styles, and the more direct idea that some people simply do not like some types of gameplay, as well as others and as such find them inferior as a whole. But that section of the argument will be addressed later on in the video, as I will mostly be focusing on the first two for now. Anyway, with both of these points, it is still my strong belief that the disregarding of an entire type of gameplay up front is a mistake. The first area we can see this assertion of mine really happening within the community is the example of styles like speedcore, flow, and synced-based gameplay being put below styles such as memory, and ones that use unique gameplay mechanics such as slope-style gameplay. Now, it's definitely a reality that not all flow, speedcore, or synced-based gameplay is good. But there are so many people throughout Twitter, Discord, and the YouTube community that disregard these styles as soon as they see them, solely because of their cultural label and only favor styles like slope gameplay and memory that use weird mechanics. I do not find it acceptable that styles like flow or fast-paced click-sync gameplay are entirely disqualified from being able to have well-made works, with some members of the community that I will again not name having a tunnel vision for only unorthodox gameplay mechanics that are supposedly more unique or original. For examples of this, I want to show some screenshots here of some interactions I saved when I was writing this video that directly spoke to the point I am making here. I don't understand why these unoriginal gameplay styles must be rejected entirely and cannot possibly be well made. For another example of this happening in the community, I want to reference a conversation I had about my gameplay with an individual I will not name. First, though, for the sake of understanding how I build gameplay, I will show on screen a clip of my layout I used in this conversation.
Oh my god.
As you can see, I build in a fast-paced, click-sync based style, and when I showed this to said person I am talking about, they instantly said that they hate this kind of gameplay and disregarded it as being possibly well made at all. I am personally extremely proud of what I have made in this clip, and I tried to help them understand why I believe what I made is good. They didn't budge with their beliefs, but they could not come up with a reason why my gameplay had to be bad simply because of the style it was built in. This interaction is, in fact, one of the key catalysts that led me to cultivate the beliefs that I hold in this video. A style should not make gameplay good or bad, it should be the gameplay itself that determines that. No, I'm not saying all speedcore or flow is good, and no, I'm not saying I hate weird or unorthodox gameplay mechanics and layouts that utilize them. In fact, I endorse all kinds of gameplay, and I believe that layouts can be well made in any style, and I also believe that they can be poorly made in every style as well. But whether they are poorly made or well made is subjective to the individual. What it should not be is objective to the style. With this in mind, no layout or gameplay style should be placed above another on a pedestal, and we should all strive to be more open-minded and willing to extend our vision of what we think makes a good layout or styles that we prefer into other approaches of making gameplay. Maybe you actually have experienced a prejudice like this yourself against a style you love. On the contrary of being prejudiced yourself, it is likely that all of you have at some point or another experienced unfair bias against a style you enjoy like I did here, especially if you build in a style like flow gameplay or design decoration that is consistently harped upon. Again, I am not saying you or anyone else has to appreciate or fall in love with every layout you see. All I am saying is that your distaste for said layout that you see should not stem from the style it's built in. It should stem from how it is made and whether you think it's good or not because of the gameplay it presents. I hope that makes sense. It is something I have believed for a long time, and I think we should all be more open-minded when it comes to these things, trying to eliminate the stylistic prejudice that many of us either subconsciously or directly guide our beliefs toward layouts in Geometry Dash. the gameplay-oriented section of this video is quite similar to the decoration half, with similar points. With this said, I do believe that the problem is much more prominent in the gameplay community, and we should really take steps to solve it. And while this concludes all the evidence I have to back up my beliefs here, it's not the end of the video. While you are watching and considering my words, especially if you came to this video opposed to my stance, you may have come up with some counter arguments that I expect you are bursting at the seams to write about in the comments. Before you do that, I want to counter the counter arguments I myself anticipate in the next parts of the video, as there are quite a few things I have to say about some of the claims people are likely to make about fallacies in my argument. Please listen closely to these, as they are very important to this essay. Without further ado, let's move on to the final parts of the video. The first counterclaim I want to make is somewhat of a quick one, but it's definitely one I need to mention. When I presented this topic and my beliefs about it to others, some people have expressed that style application is something that can be criticized, and this is why my belief that all styles should be equal at face value is flawed. However, that is an entirely separate argument that I want to distinguish. The application of style and actual stylistic prejudice are completely separate things, and I plead for you not to get them confused. The community has been pushing certain styles below others at face value, and no matter what scenario they are applied, some are idolized or disliked over others, which is stylistic prejudice. I do fully agree that style application is an element to building a level or layout, and some creating styles work a lot better in some scenarios than others, such as deciding whether an art style or design or effect style works best for a song or world you are building. But this is an entirely separate assertion that comes after what I'm arguing. The people who have a distaste towards certain creating styles like flow and design are not criticizing the application of the flow or design gameplay or decoration at all, as if they were, there would be no problem. They are instead quite simply asserting that these styles are below what they believe to be more original and creative ways of approaching creating. But in reality, creativity can be found in all styles. In other words, style application is not the issue at all, and it's instead the prejudice and disregarding of the styles at face value, not at how they are being applied to the levels they're built in. It's totally acceptable to criticize style application, but it's unacceptable to me to have a predetermined bias toward a level or style at its core. Hopefully that makes sense, and I'm hoping it clears up a fair bit of confusion that some of you might have. This isn't the only counterclaim I have to make, though. There's still one more that is less clarifying and more ideology-based, and it's one that is much more important to the bit I have presented here, so I really advise you to listen closely. It's also the final part of the video, so please do try to hold out through it all, as it's a very important aspect of my argument that solidifies a lot of the points I'm making, ties everything together, and hopefully will avoid a lot of unnecessary commotion in the comments section. The final counterclaim I need to make before I close out has to do with the direct disregard or disbelief in all my points up to this point. In other words, there are many people in the community that I know may mindfully think about my arguments I have made and, instead of believing in style equality like I am saying, decide that in their minds some styles will always just be naturally better made than others. I fully anticipate this to be a consistently appearing counter-argument that I will receive to this video, and while it is probably the strongest out of anything opposers could choose from, I still highly stand against it and want to argue against it here in this final part of the video. Now, for an example to start off my counter-argument, let's say that you're a member of the creating community, and you have never seen a layout of memory-style gameplay that has captivated you, or that you have enjoyed. Obviously, if you don't think about it much, this may lead you to the conclusion in your head that memory gameplay is lesser than another style of gameplay you enjoy, such as flow. This is not based on real events, and it's a hypothetical scenario. Still, I have seen situations like this occur many, many times with real people hating on real styles in the community. And can we accept this? As a community, is it alright to push away some styles if you have never seen a work in that category that resonates with you? Well, in my opinion, that notion is ruinous and tunnel-visioned. In our hypothetical scenario, where you have never seen an example of memory gameplay you have endorsed, I still believe that it should never be okay for the style as a whole to be hated on because of that. Sure, you have never seen something you like in this style, and what makes a good piece of decoration or gameplay good is entirely subjective, and I accept that. But I still believe it's not alright for entire styles as a whole to be closed off because of this, as this is the nonsensical and unconsidering way of seeing things. In my eyes, no matter what, all styles should be considered equal at face value. And just because all of the examples you have seen have not aligned with your tastes, doesn't mean the right thing to do is close that door entirely. And maybe you never will enjoy that style, as nothing in it will align with your taste. But there is space for someone out there to enjoy it in all stylistic areas of creating, and attempting to understand or at least acknowledge that is a much more complete vision of the community. Yes, everyone likes different things in different styles. But simply closing off your vision to what you immediately enjoy is tunnel visioned and something I think we will all regret. Behavior like that is what divides the community, and while I never think we will be perfect, taking steps to try to acknowledge that everyone enjoys different things is a very important direction toward a more healthy and whole community conscience. I have witnessed so many arguments in the community that have just been blind hate directed at either side because of misaligned appreciation for certain styles of creating, and that is something that makes me incredibly sad. It's just meaningless to argue like this when neither side tries to understand each other. If despite all this, you have still come to make the choice to be a member of the creating community that closes off all of their styles that you dislike, I cannot stop you. But I've explained here in full why I think this is a fatal mistake and a very closed-minded approach to not only the community, but to the world in general. This is more of a universal concept than just something that's limited to the Geometry Dash community. We should all be more accepting that everyone enjoys different things in every area of life, and to entirely close off a vein of the world is a harsh mistake that I fully advise you not to make. I'm sure there are people that will decide to ignore my arguments here, and while it's a sad reality that people will live in this closed-off way to me, it's something I have to accept. But if you do resonate with my arguments and either I've been directly or subconsciously behaving with any amount of stylistic prejudice, I would love for you to do the right thing and take the steps to change. Just keeping an open mindset and trying your best to catch yourself when asserting opinions about others' creations is more than I could ever ask for. And if this video can result in a more open-minded community where stylistic prejudice has been all but eliminated, then I will be satisfied with my work. I really, truly hope I convinced you or at least helped you learn more about this concept in the world of the creating community. Don't get me wrong, though. If you do not believe in what I am saying here, don't act in a way that you don't stand for. But I really do hope that you did resonate with my points and founded a belief on your own that aligns with mine. Making this argument video is all I can do. I really have no other arguments to make, so you all may take the discussion here today and do what you will with it. You can either leave it where it is, or continue the topic out into the real community by sharing this video whenever you see someone behaving with stylistic prejudice, as well as attempting to watch yourself when you assert your beliefs about levels. But that is all out of my hands. I've done all I can do, and it's up to you all listening to take the next steps beyond this video. I truly appreciate you from the bottom of my heart for sticking with me this far, and I thank you for your time. Well, that's all for today's video. Like I said many times, this one has been in the making for months and months, despite me not actually writing anything down for it until the past month or so. My approach to this has been founded over weeks upon months upon months of thinking about the creating community and my beliefs surrounding what makes a good level. I'm really happy to finally have said something about this, and I hope you all at least heard my point of view, even if you failed to find the resolve to agree. I tried my absolute hardest to be respectable, and while I don't understand if still, after all I said, that you decided to behave with stylistic prejudice, I will assume there is a good reason behind your notion to do so. And I would also love to hear it in the comments if there is one and you feel like sharing. I really thank you for sticking around this long, and I won't drag on about any closing video restating besides what I just said. I think I've expressed myself enough in this one. I really love you guys, thank you all for the support, and I'll cut it off there to give it a short but sweet ending. I appreciate every one of you always, and I will see you guys next time.